Hello everyone, my name is Dawson and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I got you guys the top 5 best SMG class setups to use here in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Now before we get into the class setups, if you guys are new to the channel and enjoy what you see, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and also turn on those post notifications so you never miss one of my uploads. With that out of the way, let's get right into class setups. Now I want to start off by saying this, that these class setups are in no particular order, but I probably will list the class setups after all the class setups are shown. But anyways, let's get right into our first class setup with the AK-74U. So with my first attachment on the muzzle, I have the GRU suppressor. Now this eliminates the muzzle flash, making us a lot more stealth on the map, as it hides from the minimap when we're shooting. You guys will see the GRU suppressor or agency suppressor used quite a lot on all my class setups, because when you're rocking an SMG, you want to be in those up close gunfights, and to be able to get in those up close gunfights a lot easier, you need to be suppressed and not be seen on the minimap. So obviously the GRU suppressor comes in clutch. But the GRU or agency suppressor also is helpful because we also get a vertical recoil control bonus. Here with the AK-74U, it is a plus 7%, which we can't really go wrong with because our next attachment will really hurt our recoil control a ton. But we'll get there, or we'll talk about it when we get there. And we also do lose a negative 25% on the effect damage range, which is pretty constant among all these other class setups that I have the agency or GRU suppressor on. But again, we do have an attachment to counter that. The attachment I have on to counter that effect damage range con is the 10.3 inch task force barrel. Now this improves the damage a plus 8%, the effect damage range a plus 50%, and the bullet velocity a plus 75%. So obviously the damage increase of a plus 8% is actually pretty massive. I honestly think that anything over like 5% is pretty substantial, and it's honestly pretty noticeable. So obviously with the damage increase, you'll just kill faster. You guys will see me use the task force barrel on a lot of my SMG class setups, because who doesn't want a faster killing weapon? Now the effective damage range bonus of a plus 50% obviously wipes out the negative 25%, leaving us with a plus 25% when it's all said and done. So that just means that our damage will carry over a longer range, which will really help us in those medium range gunfights. And then the bullet velocity increase of a plus 75% is also pretty helpful, because in these new Call of Duties, there's a thing called bullet delay or bullet travel. And with the added bullet velocity, it just means that your weapons will feel a lot more hit scan like. Now, like I kind of noted on the agencies or the GRU suppressor, we do have some recoil control cons coming from the task force barrel, like a negative 20% in the vertical recoil control and a negative 15% in the horizontal recoil control. Now, of course, we already get that plus 7% from the GRU suppressor, so the vertical recoil control is turned down to a negative 13%, but again, we still have more attachments to counter that recoil. Another attachment I have on to counter the recoil is the SMGs grip for the underbarrel. Now, this improves the vertical recoil control a plus 7% and the horizontal recoil control a plus 21%. So obviously the increase here to the vertical recoil control obviously does not wipe out the negative 13%, but when it's all said and done, we're left with a negative 6%, and that's definitely a lot more manageable to control than like a negative 20%. And then the increase to the horizontal recoil control of a plus 21%, that obviously eliminates the negative 15%, leaving us with a plus 6% when it's all said and done. Again, making it a lot more easier to control. It's definitely a lot easier to control than not running a SMGs grip, so I think the SMGs grip is the way to go here. But I do think it is still manageable with the foregrip. It's just not as manageable. You want to be in those short range gunfights. Whereas the SMGs grip, you're going to win those medium range gunfights quite a lot, like 9 times out of 10. The only downside of the SMGs grip is a negative 30% in the shooting move speed, which isn't the best thing, because with an SMG, of course, you want to be around that movement speed. But I just think that the SMGs grip just helps so much in the medium range that we just don't have to worry about the shooting move speed con. Now for the magazine, I'm on the VDV 50 round fast mag. This is pretty self-explanatory, big mag size and faster reload speeds. I don't really like using the default mags on the SMGs because I feel like you kill maybe 3 or 4 enemies and you have to reload, and I just don't like that. Now, I do run the fast mag on most of my class setups because I typically run SMGs on a lot of Nuketown maps, or just those high, quick, fast-paced maps. But if you're running on like the bigger maps, you can probably run the 50 round drum mag or literally the 40 round drum mag. It's literally your choosing. I just prefer their 50 round fast mag. And with our last attachment, we have on the GRU elastic wrap for the handle. Now this attachment is pretty consistent on literally all my class setups, because I just think that the bonuses here are just, there's nothing that outweigh them over these other handles. Like, none of these other handles are really beneficial as much as the GRU elastic wrap, because the GRU elastic wrap helps the aim down sight time a plus 30%, the flinch resistance a plus 9%, and we also get the added bonus of being able to aim while going prone, or basically being able to drop shot, which I think is massive, because I don't know, I just hate the animation when you're like going prone and you just like have to hit fire. It's just so weird. So in that reason, I think the Jerry elastic wrap is the way to go. Now for our second class setup, we have the MP5. Now to start this MP5 class setup for the muzzle, we have the SOCOM Eliminator. Obviously this is different from the Jerry suppressor that we had on the AK-74U, but with the SOCOM Eliminator, I think our bonuses are a lot more greater and a lot more beneficial. So starting off with the plus 85% in the muzzle flash concealment, that doesn't give us a full sound suppression as a suppressor would, but it does kind of reduce the suppression or help the suppression in like a certain range. I believe like in a certain bubble, you won't be able to be seen, but when you're up close, they will see you on the minimap. But honestly, that's not the reason I'm running it. I have it on because of the plus 17% bonus to the vertical recoil control, which is massive. Obviously, that is nowhere close to a plus 7%, which we'd get from the AGC suppressor. So I think the SOCOM Eliminator is the way to go here, specifically for this MP5 class setup. And I'll explain why later. Now we get a negative 10% in the shooting move speed, which honestly isn't the biggest thing, but again, like I said, we got a negative 30% in the shooting move speed from the AK-74U Spetsnaz grip. So a negative 10% is nowhere near that as well. And then the negative 7% again isn't really too massive. It is over plus 5% or over 5%, so it is noticeable, but again, we will have attachments to counter that. The next attachment is again the 9.5-inch Task Force barrel. Obviously, I ran the same barrel on my AK-74U class setup. The only difference between this Task Force barrel and the Task Force barrel and the AK-74U is that we only get a plus 6% to the damage instead of a plus 8%, which we got from the AK-74U Task Force barrel. But again, it still applies, it still kills faster, it's still good in those medium range gunfights, and then the bullet velocity also helps a lot. But we do still get the same cons to both the vertical and horizontal recoil control, but this time the vertical recoil control is reduced down to a negative 3%, which is a lot more manageable. And then the negative 15% is bumped up to a negative 22% with the negative 7% added on to it from the SOCOM Eliminator. Now for the underbarrel, I'm on the foregrip, which improves the horizontal recoil control a plus 14%. Now obviously this is different from my AK-74U where I run the Spetsnaz grip, or here the field agent grip here on the MP5. But here I have my reasons. Obviously it does not totally wipe away the horizontal recoil control, but we will have a negative 8% in the horizontal recoil control when it's all said and done. But I think it's a lot easier to control with the foregrip, and we still hold on to that shooting move speed. Because if we're going to run the field agent grip, we're going to lose a negative 30%, and we already lost a negative 10% from the SOCOM Eliminator. So combine those two, and that's negative 40%. And that's almost half of your shooting move speed gone with just 2 attachments. So I think you just gotta, save that movement speed and just stick with the foregrip here. For the magazine, I have a STANAG 50-round jump mag. This is pretty self-explanatory, big mag size. Now the thing with the MP5 is that its biggest mag size for the reload speeds is the 40-round fast mag, which I kind of opt to sometimes on Nuketown because sometimes a 50-round jump mag isn't fast enough. But it's kind of odd how like the AK-74U has a 50-round jump or 50-round fast mag, but the MP5 does not. But I honestly just prefer the bigger mag size here. And then again, like I said, we're going to stick with the airborne elastic wrap here as well. Now with our third SMG, we have the Tech 9. You can't have a top 5 best SMG class setups without the Tech 9 being involved. So starting off with the muzzle, we have the full auto repeater. Now this improves the fire rate a plus 45%. Now this is pretty self-explanatory, just makes your Tech 9 full auto because the Tech 9 does come by semi-automatic by default, which honestly is not the best thing, especially with an SMG. So the full auto repeater is definitely the way to go here. You can opt to the burst fire repeater. I just choose not to because I don't know, some SMGs are just not meant to be burst fire, and I just think the full auto repeater is definitely the way to go here. And again, for the barrel, I'm in the 8.1-inch Task Force barrel. Now we get the same bonuses as the same Task Force barrel on the MP5. So the plus 6%, the plus 50%, and the plus 75%. And you guys did not see, we did lose a negative 18% in the damage from the full auto repeater. So we're never going to gain that damage back, but of course we can make up for that. So we're left with a negative 12% in the damage when it's all said and done. We also get a negative 25% in the effective damage range, so obviously we get that back and then some. And then again, we do lose the same amount of vertical and horizontal recoil control of a negative 20% and a negative 15%. Where we did lose a negative 5% from the full auto repeater as well. So those go to a negative 20% and a negative 20%. Now we're not really gonna cover all of it, but again, we do have something to reduce it again. Now I opt for the foregrip for the underbarrel, whereas some people do run the field agent grip. Now the foregrip improves the horizontal recoil control a plus 15%, so when it's all said and done, we're left with a negative 5% in the horizontal recoil control, which is definitely pretty manageable. The only downside is that negative 20% in the vertical recoil control, which honestly isn't like, that's insane, but it's the Tech 9, it's easy to control honestly, but you can opt to run the field agent grip. But again, we lose a ton of shooting move speed, which I just do not want. And a plus 6% in the vertical recoil control, how much is that going to make a difference in your vertical recoil control? That'll only change it to a negative 14%. That is still going to be pretty high, so you might as well just stick with the foregrip here. Now there are two viable options for the magazine in my opinion for the Tech 9. My go-to is typically the Salvo 33 round fast mag, but you can also opt to run the standard 39 round mag. Obviously the only difference here, or the two differences here, is that the Salvo 33 round fast mag is obviously a fast mag, but you have 6 less bullets than you would with the 39 round mag. You just got to play around with it, see which one you prefer, and I just prefer the Salvo 33 round fast mag. And then of course we have the airborne elastic wrap for the handle. With our fourth SMG, we have on the Bullfrog. Now the Bullfrog is a pretty fun SMG to use whenever you're playing Nuketown. I think it's one of the best options for Nuketown, and I find it a lot of fun. But starting off with the muzzle, once again we have on the GRU suppressor, which gives it the same muzzle flash concealment and then gives us the plus 7% bonus to the vertical recoil control, which is pretty crucial. And again, we do have the same negative 25% in the effect damage range, but again, we still have another attachment. Of course, for the barrel, I have the 7.4 inch Task Force barrel, which improves the damage a plus 3%, which is honestly kind of lackluster compared to the other Task Force barrel. A plus 3% honestly isn't major. But the two reasons why I'm running in the Task Force barrel is because we get bonuses to both the effect damage range and bullet velocity. Obviously, the bonus to the effect damage range wipe out the con from the GRU suppressor, so that's one reason. And then I also really like the bullet velocity increase of a plus 75% because I just like the hit scan feel of my SMGs. And again, we still lose some vertical and horizontal recoil control, but I feel like the Bullfrog is one of the easiest SMGs to control in the game, so we're not really going to worry about that too much. On the underbarrel again, I am on the foregrip for a plus 15% bonus to the horizontal recoil control. Now that'll obviously wipe out the horizontal recoil control con from the Task Force barrel, which will leave us with a negative 13% in the vertical recoil control when it's all said and done. But like I said, the recoil is pretty easy to control on the Bullfrog. For the magazine, I'm in the 65 round speed mag. Now this is pretty self-explanatory, big mag size and faster reload speeds. Now some may opt to run the VDV 85 round fast mag, but to me, I just find that completely overkill. Another option that is totally viable is the Vandal speed loader. Now this gives you the fastest reload speeds possible for the Bullfrog. And the default mag size on the Bullfrog is actually 50 rounds, which is like the max for other weapons. So that is totally another viable option. I just prefer the 65 round speed mag. And then of course we have the GRU elastic wrap for the handle. And finally, how can we forget the LC10? It has been a dominant weapon ever since it was been released, and it's been super fun to use. So again, we have on the agency suppressor. This is basically just like the agency suppressor, the GRU suppressor. It gives us the same plus 7% bonus to the vertical control and obviously the muzzle flash concealment with the same con. And then for the barrel, we have on the 13.9 inch Task Force barrel, which actually gives us a plus 7% to the damage, obviously different from the plus 3%. And that damage increase is definitely noticeable. And then of course the same plus 50% to wipe out the con from the agency suppressor, and then the plus 75% bonus to the bullet velocity to make it more hit scan like. Now I will say that the recoil control cons here are a lot more noticeable than they are in other SMGs, so of course we have to run an underbarrel for that. The underbarrel of my choosing for the LC10 is the field agent grip for a plus 6% bonus to the vertical recoil control and a plus 20% in the horizontal recoil control. Now again, like I said, I kind of don't like the shooting move speed con of a negative 30%, but I feel like the LC10 is pretty good in those medium range gunfights as well, where you really don't notice it as much. Honestly, I feel like you only really notice the shooting move speed a ton when you're hip firing, which isn't often, of course, when you're in those medium range gunfights. So we might as well reduce as much recoil as we can, because we are going to absolutely beam people at medium ranges. For the magazine, I'm in the Salvo 52 round fast mag. This is pretty self-explanatory, big mag size and faster reload speeds. I have tried out the 50 round drum mag on other maps, like maps that aren't Nuketown, and it's not that bad. I don't know, like how big of a difference is 3 bullets, and of course I love the fast mag, you know? And then of course we have on the airborne elastic wrap. Now it is super hard to rank these SMG class setups, but in my opinion, ranking it from best to worst, I'd probably put the LC10 at 1, the AK-74U at 2, the Tech 9 at 3, the MP5 at 4, and then the Bullfrog at 5. But anyways, those are the top 5 best SMG class setups to use here in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys slap like button. And if you guys want me to do a video for the assault rifles, make sure you guys comment down below asking for one. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!